What if Samsung doesn't trust its own chips? Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what might be happening with the next Galaxy phone, the Galaxy S26. Even the Samsung's own chip division has no idea if their new Exynos 2600 will be used in it. This isn't just about one chip. It's a sign of something much bigger going on inside Samsung, a silent struggle between two powerful teams within the same company. So, what's really happening behind the scenes? Why is Samsung choosing other companies' chips instead of its own? Let's break it down. Inside Samsung, there are two major players in this story. Samsung MX, this is the mobile division. They're the team behind Galaxy smartphones like the S series and Z Flip. And Samsung System LSI. This is the team that builds the Exynos processors, the brain of the phone. Now, you'd think they'd work together perfectly, right? They're both part of the same company. But here's the twist. Samsung MX doesn't have to use chips made by Samsung LSI. They can go with Qualcomm Snapdragon. And guess what? They often do.
This year, something interesting happened. Samsung LSI finally got one of its chips, the Exynos 2500, into a major phone, the Galaxy Z Flip 7. Party time! That's a big win. Why? Because all the older Flip models, they only used Snapdragon chips. For LSI, this was a moment of hope, a sign that maybe, just maybe, Samsung MX was ready to give Exynos another chance. But now, with the Exynos 2600 in development for 2026, even the chip team doesn't know if their new processor will actually be used. Let that sink in. The people building the chip don't even know if it'll end up in a Galaxy S26. At a recent event in Seoul, Park Yong-in, the president of System LSI, spoke about this. He said, "We are preparing well, and there will be good results." You can tell, he's hopeful. But when someone asked him if the Exynos 2600 would power the Galaxy S26, he didn't say yes. Instead, he said it's the customer's decision. And in this case, the customer is Samsung MX.
Imagine building something for years, working late nights, testing, failing, fixing, and still not knowing if your own company will choose your product. That's the kind of pressure the chip team is facing. Now, let's talk about why Samsung MX is being so careful. Simple answer: performance and reliability. They've been burned before. There were reports that MX wanted to use the Exynos 2500 in the Galaxy S25, but the yield problems, basically the chip wasn't producing enough good units, forced them to go with Snapdragon instead. That's why the S25 ended up using only Qualcomm chips. MX isn't waiting around anymore. They've started buying fewer parts from inside Samsung itself. They're even using memory chips from Micron, an American company, for the Galaxy S25, and likely for the Galaxy S26 too. So if the Exynos 2600 doesn't hit every mark, speed, heat, battery, AI, MX won't hesitate to skip it. This isn't just about one phone. It's about Samsung's future.
Think about it. Apple builds its own chips and uses them across every iPhone. Google is investing in Tensor for its Pixel phones. But Samsung, the world's biggest phone brand, is still struggling to trust its own chip division. And if the Exynos 2600 doesn't make it into the Galaxy S26, it could be another setback, one that makes it harder for LSI to catch up to Snapdragon or Apple Silicon. Because every time MX chooses Qualcomm, Exynos loses a chance to get better, to improve, to compete. So now, all eyes are on the Exynos 2600. Will it finally prove itself? Or will Samsung once again say, "Thanks, but no thanks"? One thing's for sure. The future of Samsung's chip team may depend on what happens with the Galaxy S26. And that makes this more than just a tech story. It's a battle inside one of the biggest tech companies on Earth. What do you think? Should Samsung keep betting on Exynos? Or is it time to go all in on Snapdragon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next big update in the Samsung chip war. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and stay tech savvy. Peace out.